G'day guys, back for another edition of the Hit Out, the solo pod I do from time to time in between regular episodes of the pod with a guest and a different guest each time, which as you know by now, or hopefully do know by now, that is the main goal of the pod. So just realized I don't even need those on today because I am talking to myself. So guys, it is not even 24 hours removed from the Wednesday night No Limit pay-per-view featuring Nikita Tszyu and Oscar Diaz in the main event. So guys, I've got another episode of the pod coming. Well, not officially scheduled yet, not 100% totally confirmed, but very likely for next week, which we will jump into the Inoue Nakatani card, also the Benavidez Zurdo Ramirez fight and that undercard. But today I just wanted to jump on specifically to talk about the No Limit show that was last night. And God, guys, mate, it is Thursday today. It is freezing in Melbourne. Like, God damn, I've got like 15 jumpers on. It is so cold. So if my teeth are chattering, I apologize. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. But guys, let's get into it. We'll start from the top and work our way down. Nikita Tszyu with the 6-round corner stoppage or corner retirement from Oscar Diaz and his team. Guys, I thought by far this was the best version of Nikita Tszyu we've ever seen. He was the most controlled he's ever been. He was the most disciplined he's ever been. He was the most patient he's ever been. He was the most deliberate he'd ever been. There really seemed to be a concerted effort from the corner, through the warm-up, through the first round, the second round, the third round. It was very similar to an Alfie DiCarlo style game plan. Turn that screw ever so slightly, limit openings, all that type of stuff. The things that we've known Nikita is capable of showing since the amateur days that he's just left in his tool belt for the vast majority of his pro career to this point. So it was absolutely sensational to see Nikita bring all that stuff back out. If he's going to get to where we all want him to get to and where we think he can get to, really that high regional / world level, that's the exact type of performance that he's going to have to put in, fight out. And you know, when Tim, his brother, is at his best, that's the type of patience and maturity and diligence and attention to detail in terms of following a game plan that we see from Tim when he's at the high watermark of his career in terms of his own ability. So I thought this was absolutely fantastic from Nikita. Now, unfortunately, as I mentioned on a couple of pods beforehand, I tried so hard to find footage on Oscar Diaz. I literally could not find anything. The only footage that I saw of Oscar Diaz was from the first open workout about 4 or 5 days before the fight. So I had no pre-existing opinions on Oscar Diaz. I had no idea what he was bringing to the table. I couldn't tell how big or tall he was at the weight. I couldn't tell if he was a mover. I didn't know if he was a pressure fighter. I didn't know anything about this guy, not through lack of trying. I tried to find some footage. If anyone out there found any and they have a particular website or a particular place they go to find these obscure fights, send me an email or send me a message, mate. I would love to know because I could not find a single thing. So it was very difficult to envisage how this fight was going to play out when I was very familiar with one side, but was completely in the dark on the other. So all I can really do is speak about Nikita in this fight, which is probably as a biased Australian all I was going to do anyway. But Oscar Diaz, to me, didn't seem to be very threatening to Nikita. It seemed to be a massive ability gap from the jump. Nikita seemed to be so much more imposing. He seemed to be faster physically and mentally. I can't even really remember. I've only watched it the one time. Did Nikita even get hit that often? Maybe a handful of times here and there. It seemed to me like Oscar Diaz had a really hard time getting anything going. I'm not sure what their game plan was, whatever it was. I don't think he had any success really getting it going, but I believe that was all down to Nikita. And it was those things we spoke about earlier, the maturity, the discipline, the patience, limiting the openings. You know, Nikita, the Russian style, the Tszyu style is still very wide. Everything's wide. The shoulders are wide. The elbows are wide. The hand positioning is wide, but it works for them. And when they're patient, Tim included, when Tim and Nikita are patient and they show that the game plan the respect it deserves and follow it to a T, they're sensational. Oh, I really, really, really liked that version that we saw of Nikita, and I hope it's not going to be sort of a little Jekyll and Hyde with Tim, whereas he fights that way sometimes, then he goes berserk in the next fight, and then he reins it back in and fights really well, Mendoza style, and then he's balls to the wall the next fight trying to be Mike Tyson. I really hope Nikita can sort of sink into this style, this more not passive, but this what's the word I'm looking for? What would be a good word? He was reckless before. What would be the opposite of reckless? I'm blanking, but you get my point. This more conservative. There we go. That's what I was looking for. A more conservative Nikita Tszyu makes him so much more effective. And we saw his face after the fight. He, didn't have a big black eye. He was, probably didn't have alarm bells ringing in his head, sirens going off, and he's the throbbing headache from just getting throttled. Again, admittedly, I don't think Oscar Diaz was offensively as gifted as some of Nikita's previous opponents, but the point remains moving forward. I think this is the version of Nikita that I think will have the most success as he moves up each rung on the ladder, hopefully from here on out. But guys, it has to be talked about. And I know some people don't care, but this really fired me up. And this was a great night of fights, which we'll get into the undercard, because the 3 fights preceding the main event were the main events for me. So we're definitely going to get into those fights. But we have to talk about the closing stages of either round 5 or round 6, whatever the last round was. I think it was round 6. Oscar Diaz is getting hit pretty cleanly. He doesn't get knocked down. He seems to voluntarily take a knee. As one knee hits the deck, Nikita lands 2 extra shots, sort of like a sweeping left hand and a sweeping right hand. Not huge, but connected on both sides of the jaw to Oscar Diaz. He was clearly a downed opponent. As soon as Nikita landed the second shot with his right hand, he put his hands up as if to apologize. I'm sorry. I don't know exactly what the words came out of his mouth, where it seemed to be something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that wasn't intentional. Rightfully so. Oscar Diaz's corner was jumped up on the apron. They were protesting. I don't know what they were saying in Spanish, something probably like, what the hell? That's illegal. You can't do that. That's a foul. I would imagine there was seemingly some outrage. Nikita sort of still had his hands up and apologized to the team. It wasn't intentional, as he made his way back to the neutral corner. Now, whatever, things happen in a fight. Very, very similar. And I had someone push back on me on social media, but I don't think they actually understood my point that I posted yesterday in the heat of the moment, which I thought was actually pretty well written, considering for a work night, late, few beers and fired up. But I think they failed to understand my point, which I'll make here. And I will draw it to another fight where, with an Aussie involved too, kind of a role reversal. Liam Wilson landed a shot on Navarrete in that sequence when Navarrete was knocked down. I believe if I remember this correctly, I think Navarrete, one of his gloves was on the canvas when Liam Wilson landed that last sort of sweeping 45 right uppercut hooky kind of shot. I believe his glove was touching. And this bloke... sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, and anyway, we all know what happened there. The ref took some sort of control of the fight, gave a huge, long, massive count to Navarrete to recover, all that type of thing. So that sort of seemed to even it out. Now, in the heat of the moment, my argument back then was, how is Liam Wilson supposed to know if some guy's bent over and his glove's touching the canvas or it's 25 mil off it? How is he to know that? You can't expect him to know that. That's not his job. It's the ref's job. And the ref did what he did. And anyway, we're not going to go over old ground. Now, with this example with Nikita, how is Nikita supposed to know that the guy's knee is on the ground? He threw 2 shots to a technically downed opponent. He seemed to immediately know that it was a downed opponent after he landed the second shot. Now, only Nikita will know if he knew he was down when he threw the first shot and the second shot, or if it was a genuine mistake. I don't know. It's in the heat of battle. I'm not a fighter. That's not his job. He's doing what he does. It is the ref's job to then come in and remonstrate and enforce the rules. Now, I'm no expert on refereeing. Absolutely not. But I would imagine if a guy takes a knee and gets punched in the head intentionally twice, at a very bare minimum, you would reckon the fighter that hit the downed opponent would get a warning, wouldn't you? That would seem to be a reasonable expectation. What did Will Soulos do? Absolutely nothing. Nikita apologizes to the team. He goes to the neutral corner. Will Soulos, and credit to Jay Sparks, huge supporter of the show, listener. Cheers, Jay. He messaged me the other day. The morning after the fight when I made that post, and said too that Will Soulos didn't even give Oscar Diaz any time to recover. He just started counting. The guy just got hit twice when he was downed with his knee down. That's a downed opponent, a downed fighter. He got hit on his knees. That's illegal. Will Soulis just started counting. So I can totally understand the outrage of Team Diaz. This is an absolute joke. If this happened to an Australian fighter overseas and the roles were reversed and the Australian fighter took a knee and got hit twice and there was no reprimand, we would all be absolutely ropeable. This was horrible officiating. So not only did Will Soulis not give Oscar Diaz, I think, is it 5 minutes? You're supposed to get 5 minutes, same as if you get punched low or whatever. You have up to 5 minutes, whatever the rule is. But he got no extra time, just started counting. And I thought, okay, he'll get to the end of the count. He'll bring Nikita in. I thought he should have taken a point. I wouldn't even be surprised if he took 2 points because he hit him twice. But I thought at the bare minimum, there's going to be a stern verbal warning, which I don't think is enough of a penalty, but that's what I was expecting to see. Will Soulis finishes the count, wipes the gloves, continue 13 more seconds in the round. Absolutely nothing. Nikita Tszyu hit an opponent twice who was downed with his knee on the canvas and received absolutely no verbal penalty, no scorecard penalty, nothing. Fight on. And Oscar Diaz, to J Sparks' point, was not even given 1 second of extra time to recover from being hit twice with 2 illegal shots. That is horrible, horrible refereeing. Horrible refereeing. And I think Will Soulis is a good ref most of the time, but that is horrible refereeing. And the worst part about it, if I'm Errol Spence, Errol Spence is coming to Australia to fight Tim Tszyu. I'm watching that fight going, all right, let's get that contract out. No Australian refs. We want a neutral ref or an American ref. Like, if this happened in England with an English fighter, everyone would be up in arms. If you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. And I get it. In Australia, and they're probably like, we get screwed all the time every time we go all over the world. So when someone comes here, we're going to screw them. Do 2 wrongs make a right? I don't think so. I think we're better than that. And we should be better than that, and we need to be better than that, because that was a horrible, it kind of marred the entire. I thought it was the best Nikita ever looked, but to be honest, and it's not his fault, I'm blaming the ref specifically. Just a horrible lack of interpretation of the rules. Not even know what the rules are, but something had to have happened. Surely you can't get away with that. If this was in Vegas, we had an Australian fighter. Say this was Michael Katsidis when he fought Juan Manuel Marquez, and Marquez knocks Katsidis down, hits him twice, and the ref just goes, oh, yeah, all good, go back over there. All right, fight on, continue, and Katsidis gets stopped. We would all be absolutely up in arms, and rightfully so, we should be. So to the Spanish fans out there, to Team Diaz, man, I can't apologize on behalf of anyone. I'm a nobody. I'm not involved in the boxing, reffing community. But yeah, just a horrible look. I hated the way it ended. It really, really disappointing, because what was looking to be, and what was a really fantastic performance from Nikita Tszyu. But this would never happen in Japan. They're the best officiators in the game globally. This would never happen. Everyone gets treated fairly. And, Oscar Diaz, whether he won a round or not, and he probably didn't, he was way down on the cards. He was looking like he was going to get stopped anyway. There's no excuse. We need to protect fighters at all times, and we need to enforce the rules at all times and do what the right thing is. Who cares about what happened in Germany 15 years ago? Who cares what happens in England now? All this bias. We need to be better than that. We can be better than that. We should be better than that. So anyway, that'll do me. But man, so disappointing. All right, guys, now let's move down to what was my personal main event of the card. Callum Peters takes a unanimous 10-round decision over Sean James. My God, man, I was so looking forward to this fight all week. Actually, for the fortnight leading up to it, I was pumped. As I said on the last pod, I thought it was really good matchmaking, super aggressive matchmaking, probably a little bit too aggressive for Callum only having the 6 fights going in. But, I mean, that's what No Limit used to do. That's kind of what No Limit always do. They are aggressive matchmakers. Look, I'll pot them and, give them hell when they deserve it. And should this have been a pay-per-view? Absolutely not. But I'll save that for another pod. But this was sensational matchmaking. Generally speaking, the No Limit matchmaking is pretty good. It's not as good as it used to be. They've softened a little bit, which I guess is just a natural reaction as you sort of move on and gain more fighters and all that type of thing. You kind of want to keep them winning. They're doing less events, so they don't want any of their guys taking losses. I get it, but this was like an old school No Limit in matchmaking terms. This was fantastic. But anyway, so let's get to the fight, guys. Callum Peters, my God, the first 4 rounds, it comes out, you know, he didn't realize he was running a 15K race. He thought it was a 400-meter sprinting, mate. The pace was high. The head movement was excellent. He was still getting hit with shots, but that head movement, and he doesn't even keep his hands up. He kind of, not fill his shell, but he kind of has one up and one down. And funnily enough, and I'll get to the point, but as I was watching this fight, I was thinking, man, if I had to, like, you know, explain to someone what Callum Peters' style is, like, how would I do it, you know, outside of just the blaringly obvious? I'm like, I don't really know. And there's got to be a method to the madness. Like, there's got to be a system. It's very unique. I need to do more work on that to, like, really understand what he does and why he does it, because it's certainly no one in Australia like him, I don't think. It's kind of David Benavidez-esque. I always said that even before he turned pro. He reminds me of Benavidez in size and frame and skinny legs and all that type of thing. But and the combos he throws and the speed in which he throws from mid-range and on the inside. Very interesting style. I would love to know if that's just him or that's how his old man and his team have trained him specifically to fight that way. Very interesting. There could be some really good, like, deep dive articles if there's any journos out there listening. You can have that idea for free, because I would love to know. But Callum comes out, as I was saying, slipping. He was slipping 4 or 5 jabs in a row with that sort of that posture from mid-range as he's moving in. He was really elusive. Again, still got hit a few times, but when you're fighting up close like that and you're being that aggressive, you're inviting danger. And Callum Peters, his greatest strength is that he will walk across the ring and punch anyone in the face with absolutely no fear or hesitation whatsoever. That's how he rolls. He's probably going to get caught. It's going to go against him one day. But anyway, it may have gone against him in this fight. We will get to that. So Callum Peters, first 3 rounds, unbelievable. He is, I wouldn't say dominating Joshawn James, but he's busting him up. He's swelling on both his eyes at this point. The high cheekbones are swelling into the eyes, not closed, but puffy around the sides and underneath on that sort of that high cheekbone area. For Joshawn James, he's getting lit up from the inside. Callum Peters is Lomachenko on him, jumping around the corner, throwing the left hook, jumping around the corner, throwing the right uppercut. The way his balance is so good, he would Lomachenko and get out to the side, throw the right uppercut. Joshawn would try to leave, and Callum would be able to be squared up from southpaw and throw the left hand and catch him on the way out as well. It was like, I'm thinking, if you're Joshawn James, you're thinking, where am I getting hit with all these shots? Where is this guy? I think I'm safe, and I'm copping another one on the chin on the way out. This is insane. It was ridiculously impressive. Callum was going to the body sensationally in the first couple of rounds, and in the 4th round, he actually dropped Joshawn with a body shot. It was near the end of the round. Callum comes out, continues his pedal to the metal style, and then the bell rings. And look, on commentary, it was very pro Callum, and it really couldn't be any other way. Callum was really having his way with this guy. And I thought, personally, sitting on the couch as well, that we were on our way to seeing a stoppage here. But I have to give it to Joshawn James. I thought he won round 5 and 6. And I don't know what happened, but if it was just like a depletion of energy, you know, as I mentioned, Callum didn't realize he was running a 15-kilometer race. He thought it was a 400 sprint. If he got to the finish line, 4 rounds, 400 meters, and went, okay, I'm done. If it was an adrenaline dump, if he got hit with a shot that hurt him that I didn't notice, if he injured something, a rib, a hand, a shoulder, if something was off, but he did not look himself in rounds 5 and 6 at all. But credit to Joshawn James, because he bit down on the mouthpiece and he came out and he gave Callum hell. I really thought Joshawn won 5 and 6. So we get to the end of the 6th round, 4-2 Callum. There seemed to be a little bit of panic and urgency in Callum's corner. His dad was geeing him up, asking him if there was anything wrong. Callum sort of seemed to have a pretty despondent expression on his face. He was kind of just sitting there. Again, whether it was, a realization like, dropped him with a body shot at the end of the 4th. I'm going to stop this guy. Where I'm about to have another early night. This is fantastic. And then the reality sets in where Joshawn James doesn't take no for an answer. He doesn't let Callum stop him. He's too tough for that. He's too determined for that. He's too good for that. And whether Callum was like, oh, God, all right, here we go. I don't know what was going on, but it was a very different Callum. I thought he bit down hard and won the 7th, but then I thought Joshon won the 8th. Now, I've seen a lot of articles and just preliminary stuff. I haven't got right into it, but I've seen words like masterclass and flawless and all this type of stuff thrown around in terms of Callum Peters' performance. I don't think that at all. I thought at bare minimum, 5, 6, and 8 I'm giving to Joshon James for sure. I thought Callum really bit down and went hard in 9 and 10 to seal the win, even though he was already up. But in terms of masterclass, I wouldn't say that. In terms of flawless, I wouldn't say that. I think Callum Peters went through some adversity in this fight. Absolutely, he did through the middle rounds. Now, again, whether that was due to just energy depletion, adrenaline dump, whether he was injured, whether he was just down on himself for not stopping him earlier, whatever it was, and he went through something mentally or physically in that fight, and he got himself out of it towards the end. But that's exactly why this fight was so good. I'm not bagging Callum. I'm a bigger Callum Peters fan now than I was before the fight. This is what great matchmaking is all about, in my opinion. I thought he may have gone a little bit too hard matchmaking aggression-wise. Like, Joshon James is a really good fighter. This could be a little bit too much. It didn't almost prove to be that way, but Joshon asked questions of Callum that Callum had never been asked before. And to Callum's credit, he had to find some answers. Callum is going to be so much better for this experience. There's no doubt in my mind. But was it a flawless masterpiece? Absolutely not. It was not. And I'm glad it wasn't, because Callum, the development and the progression of his career moving forward is going to be accelerated for having this type of fight. So, I thought it was brilliant, guys. If you haven't seen it, I don't know how to watch it. Hopefully someone puts it up on YouTube. Otherwise, you've got to spend $60 to buy it on pay-per-view when it happened yesterday or 2 days ago, 3 days ago, whatever, when you're listening to this. It's insane. But a fantastic performance by Callum Peters, a fantastic performance by Joshon James, and just a really, really good fight. Again, is it pay-per-view level? Absolutely not, but that's out of our control, guys. We moved down to another fantastic performance. Now, out of the 3 quote-unquote main events I was the most excited for, I was the most confident in Ruston getting the victory, and he did. He stopped Burkay Varel by TKO in the 3rd round. But it didn't exactly go as I thought it was going to. Somewhat early in the 1st round, like we're talking inside the 1st minute. Kira said it was a headbutt in the post-fight interview. I didn't see a headbutt. I reckon it was a punch, but I could be proven otherwise. Again, that was just my feeling at the time. I haven't watched it back. But Ruston gets cut over the left eye with what I thought was a right hand, a really, really bad cut on the eyelid that was just leaking blood instantly and completely changed the complexion of the fight. Kira couldn't see. I think he lost the 1st round anyway. He was blind in one eye. I'm not sure what the advice was from Gareth Reynolds in the corner, whether they said, mate, lit a fire under his ass and get this guy out of here or what, but or if the aggression increase from Ruston was his own. But he certainly came out more aggressive in the 2nd. He was throwing big shots and it was looking a bit dicey. I watched a little bit of Burkay Varel leading up, and I thought he was a little bit crude at times. I thought he was rather rudimentary. I didn't think he was real slick, and I still believe that. And I'm not saying he proved me wrong or I changed my opinion of him, but he wasn't as crude as I thought he was. He certainly looked pretty comfortable on his feet, and maybe cutting Kira so early and making the hometown fighter, so to speak, fight through some adversity early, like really boosted his confidence and bolstered his belief in himself, because he was moving around the ring with authority, He actually looked quite good. I thought he was going to be much more herky-jerky. He was better than I thought, so I have to give Burkay Varel credit for that. But credit to Ruston, like a bull at a gate, ramped up the aggression, got Burkay out of there with some beautiful body shots to the point where Varel just could not continue. So a really good win by Ruston. Did it in a different way. I thought he was going to outclass Varel. He kind of had to outfight him with the urgency that cut presented in that particular matchup. But Kira's 9-0 with 9 knockouts now, 9 stoppages. So it's onwards and upwards for one of Australia's best prospects in Ruston. And guys, before that too, we had another excellent fight I was super excited for. Jack Bowen taking on the power punching machine, Tonga Tongo. Now, Tongo missed weight, surprisingly. And this fight was at super middleweight. I didn't even know that Tongo could make super middleweight, and it turns out that he can't because he didn't. He missed it by about 2 kilos, I believe. I'd have to look up the weights, but yeah, he was a little bit off. In pounds, it's got 172, so 4 pounds 2 kilos roughly. Maybe it's like 1.9, something like that, whatever it is. That's just the weights on BoxRec. But guys, this was fantastic. It was a 2-round fight. Jack Bowen sensationally stops Tongo on his feet in the second round. But I tell you what, man, like, if you ask who is the better boxer with the better pure boxing skills, I mean, it's Jack Bowen all day, every day. But Tongo is dangerous. We've seen him upset better boxers before. Max Reeves is the one that stands out in our minds. Look, I think Jack Bowen's got an extra gear than Max Reeves, or certainly than Max Reeves had at the time that he fought Tongo. But, you know, this was still a really dangerous fight. Yeah, Jack got caught a little bit at the start of the second, exchanging. It kind of had shades of the Reynold Quinlan loss, you know, and I thought Jack Bowen would win that fight too, but Reynold Quinlan came in shape, aggressive, came to prove everyone wrong, bowling over right hands, and Jack Bowen got caught. This was a great sort of redemption fight for Jack Bowen in a sense. You know, he's fighting another power puncher, a guy that he should be able to outbox, and all he's got to do is not get caught. That's sort of the narrative that I'd built in my head for this fight before it happened. Well, Jack Bowen did it a different way. He was like, yeah, F this dude, man. I can bang too. I'm going to take him out. So after getting rocked and wobbled, he bites down on the mouthpiece. He composes himself for a couple of seconds. He finds the spot. He launches a beautiful overhand right, catches Tongo clean. Tongo's wobbly. He's moving back to the ropes where Jack Bowen just absolutely unleashes of him. Shout out to a mate of the show, Liam O'Brien, as he pointed out to me on message. You know, it had shades of Ray Mercer, Tommy Morrison. You know, not to that degree, obviously, but there was shades of that on the ropes a little bit. If you haven't watched that fight, go back and check that one out too, and you'll get the reference. But look, yeah. So Tongo gets stopped on the ropes. Now, whatever misogyny, sexism, all this, whatever. Let's just tell the truth. Jack Bowen and Tongo are big dudes, and they're throwing bombs. And the New South Wales Boxing Authority, Combat Sports Authority, whatever it is, and no disrespect to this woman, decided to put a female referee in this fight with a power-punching Tongo and Jack Bowen, who's a pretty big dude. I didn't think he'd be that aggressive, but it's a fight, so you've got to expect... You can't expect anything. You've just got to leave your mind open to all possibilities. Look, in hindsight, was that the best appointment to have a female ref have to jump in between a rampaging Jack Bowen and a basically unconscious Tongo on the ropes? Like, is that a position you want to put a female in? And is that a position that a female wants to be in? Look, she stopped the fight, but I thought it was about 3 punches too late. I would have liked to have, like, Brad Vicali would have been straight in there, you know. I've never reffed. I imagine it's pretty confronting when you got some big dudes throwing bombs and you got to get in there, all that type of thing. I understand that, but I don't know. Maybe there's like a weight class limit that maybe female refs should do bantamweight and down or lightweight and down or something like that. I'm not sure. I just thought Tongo took a few extra shots. I thought the ref hesitated. Was that a female thing? Maybe not. Was she forceful in getting in and stopping the action? No. Did she stop it? Yes. Could have been better. But nonetheless, a fantastic win for Jack Bowen. Onwards and upwards from here. So that was the 3 fights I was the most pumped about, guys. What are we at? 28. Damn it. I thought I was only going to do 10 or 12 or 15 or something. Sorry, guys. I love talking about fights. Opening up the card, guys, we'll just finish it off going down with these last couple of fights. Australian boxing royalty, or the son of Raheem Mundine, made his No Limit pay-per-view debut. Wrap your head around that one against Lance G. Banger McDonald. He won a 5-round unanimous decision. Guys, I watched this with very fleeting interest. I'll be totally honest. Lance McDonald, G-Banger, I'm sure we've all seen the weigh-in costume that he wears, which is just like a full straight-up G-string. And, I don't know. Look, I guess it gets eyeballs and that type of thing. it's not for me. I like to see this sport taken more professionally. So yeah, nothing against the guy. Do what you got to do to get some more followers or whatever. But yeah, I like to see the sport taken as seriously as possible by fans like me and by the fighters themselves too. And I don't know, I just think that's a bit of a bad look. So, and Raheem Mundane, but actually to put it that way, I thought McDonald won. I didn't watch the fight like with full super intent, but it looked to me like McDonald landed more punches than Mundine did. So, yeah, a bit of a weird one there, guys. I'll leave the opinions on that one up to people that actually watched the fight with a lot more interest than I did. This wasn't the main prelim main event, but it was probably the most experienced. Well, it was the most experienced. Anyway, Kyron Dryden was back with a second round stoppage over Hunter Ioane, who just threw bombs from his hips from the opening bell and just got caught constantly and knocked down in the second. So not a super surprise there. Brent Walton and Jaden Vasica had a 4-rounder that Brent Walton won by majority decision. My God, this was a barn burner. Jaden Vasica, holy hell, talk about aggression. Looks like he could go down another weight class too. I think he might be better suited at 140. Vasica, he weighed in at 145 and a quarter. He just looked a little smaller, I thought. But really fun 4-rounder to open up the card, guys. Brandon Gratch was back with a stoppage in the 3rd round. And shout out to mate of the show, Paul Cupid. One of his charges, Benjamin Amos, was back, who lost a 4-round majority decision to Wayne Telepe. Again, I just got home from work, so I missed like the first round and a half here. Looked pretty even to me. I've got it recorded. I haven't gone back and watched it. Maybe Wayne did pull away. It looked even to me. When I was watching, I was like, oh, I wish this was a 5-rounder. I think maybe Benjamin Amos had more in the tank at that point to pull away. But nonetheless, congratulations to Wayne Telepe. God damn it. I've been talking too long, guys. And yeah, Benjamin Amos was certainly not disgraced at all. I'm sure we'll see him back on a Newcastle card by No Limit next time, because he's always in good, entertaining fights. So, guys, it was a fantastic event. What are we at? Over half an hour, guys. I apologize. Yeah, we'll leave it there. I just want to get on and break down this card. So, as I mentioned, nothing 100% locked in yet for next week on the pod, but yeah, we've gone back and forth with someone. It is an overseas guest. It may or may not happen, but if it does, that's why I thought I can't really talk about this, domestic card with an overseas guest who hasn't watched it. So I thought I'll jump on for the hit out, just break down that card specifically, and then hopefully next week, once that gets locked in, we will be jumping into Inoue Nakatani, David Benavidez, Zurdo Ramirez. Obviously, we've got Dubois, Wardley this weekend. Tons of other good fights. I haven't even put the list together. But, guys, we'll leave it there. That is long enough for this one. Thank you very much for listening or watching. I really appreciate it. Yeah, if you want to get in contact with me, you can do that by emailing the pod at TUSCPod@gmail.com. That's TUSCPod@gmail.com. Or if you want to throw a tweet at me, you can do that at delivery_man2. Got the Instagram page, guys. That's just at TUSCPod. Got the YouTube channel. That's at TUSCPod also. Yeah, guys, everyone who's subscribed to the channel and liked on iTunes and Spotify and all that type of stuff, I really appreciate it. I never ask. Everyone always says at the start or beginning of every episode, I like and subscribe to all this stuff. I think listening or watching is enough. I really appreciate it. But to all the people that have gone the extra step to show a little bit of support, it means a lot. It really helps. And I do massively appreciate it. So thank you very much. But, guys, that's the hit out. I will be back next week, hopefully. And, guys, enjoy the fights, and I'll chat to you later.
Oh, let's travel, man up the chain. Living like there's no tomorrow, then tomorrow came. Going all out. I was living like there's no tomorrow, then tomorrow came. Got the wake-up call, laughing through the window frame.